Well, welcome everyone to At Wit's End. I'm Ken. That's Carson. We're 6,000 miles apart, 9 hour difference. It's actually raining here in California. How's the weather in Austria?
Not raining here. It's a little chilly, but it's
Well,
been a overcast day, I guess.
fall's finally hit. Hey, welcome to some of the new subscribers from Americans in Vienna. Welcome.
Wait,
Thanks for
you forgot the
subscribing.
best part of our intro. How
What's
far
that?
apart? How
I
far
said
apart?
that 6,000 miles away.
Oh, did you? I didn't even. I
Yeah.
wasn't even listening. I guess.
6,000 miles, 9 hour difference. So it's another college weekend of football. We are going to talk sports, but mainly not American football. But I am wearing my Trojans jersey, one of several that we have. Just wanted to shout out. They defeated Colorado, and
Nice. Always a good.
wasn't a great game though. I think they started out well, but that being said, you went to a big game recently.
Yep.
The team's called LASK. It stands for Linz
Oh, do you know?
uh,
I've told you multiple
Athletics
times before.
Soccer Club, right?
Close, close. No, Linzer Athletic Sport Club.
That's close.
So,
What?
yeah.
Yeah, what did
So,
I say?
yeah, close,
But
close.
they played a major team, a historic team that I think everybody, even people who aren't fans of soccer, and you attended the game. I'll let you kind of discuss it because I'm from the outside looking in as far as soccer goes.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, that major team. I mean, you could argue the biggest club in the world. There's a few others that you know their fans would argue it, but they played Liverpool. And not only did they played Liverpool here in Little Linz. Liverpool traveled to
You
Austria
mean
to play.
Liverpool is famous for other than the Beatles? Is their football club?
Yep, I would think more people know about the football club than the Beatles coming from Liverpool. I think
Yeah,
people know who the
nowadays
Beatles
maybe
are, but the fact where the
don't
Beatles
know they're
come
from
from,
Liverpool.
yeah, yeah. Um, I'll be honest, I thought they were from Manchester, but uh,
Who the
that's
Beatles?
a whole different. Yeah, I didn't know exactly where they were
Yeah,
from either.
can't reach out and
Yeah,
slap you
so
for that.
you're not a Beatles fan, you just know 'em. Anyway,
I'm a
we'll
fan, but
move
I'm
on.
not ravenous. Yeah, let's move on from music to actual sports that we
Yeah,
plan to talk about.
so last played Liverpool and it was a huge match. And I think it's interesting tonight kind of note last history because this match was a big deal for the club and the town. So I just told you what it stood for originally. They're an old team founded in 1908, so you'll see it a lot on their merchandise. 1908 on the hats and on shirts and everything. That's their kind of original founding. They're a pretty old club. Um, and they originally were called the um, Athletic Sport Club. That's where it asked, and you still see like graffiti everywhere
Okay,
where it's tagged in the city called. Yeah, it's hard to. I mean, it's hard to say, but ASK. You'll see those
yeah,
tags and
which is kind of
graffiti
a
around
weird
the
thing to see
city.
tagged. I did see that on the wall, some walls in Linz, and I was going, "That's kind of weird." I didn't know what it meant at
Yeah,
the time.
yeah. Um, but it's the biggest club in Linz. They have a long history, so they were actually the first club to win the Austrian league outside of Vienna. So I think that was back in like the 60s. That was a big deal when they won it. But they've kind of recently been in financial trouble, I guess. Um, not too long ago. The most recent club, so they had troubles in the 90s. I think there was like a scandal with their team president going like abroad, taking a bunch of cash with them, and yeah, that is some stuff with
Really?
that. So yeah, so there's like that. He
That
just
kind
ran
of
away with a
that
bunch
kind
of
of
cash.
follows that follows the storyline of the Wrexham team.
Yeah, just
The
there's always
Ryan
stuff with
Reynolds and
the
what's his
rich
name, Rod.
guys. Yeah, Rob McElhenney. Um, but
Do you know
yeah,
who
so
owns
so they
LASK?
went.
Do you even know?
It's a consortium, so I'll get to that in a sec. Because so they in the '90s they went through financial trouble because their club president
Okay.
owner ran away. They got relegated in the '90s to the second division. Then it took them till 2007 to get back to the first division of Austria, the Austrian Bundesliga, different from the German Bundesliga. Yeah, so they got promoted back to the first division back in 2007. Um, but there was still a bunch of issues, and they actually got relegated twice. So in 2012, they hit rock bottom. They got relegated to the third division of Austrian football. So thinking about where they're at now, about to play Liverpool. In 2012, they were in the third division of Austrian football league. So that's a regional league in Austria. And Austria's not a big country. It's a
That's pretty
country of
bad.
like under 10 million.
No.
So, yeah, getting
Yeah.
relegated that far. So, the club was about to go bankrupt. They weren't paying their players. And it was actually bought by a consortium. They called themselves the Friends of LASK, um, and they bought it before got shut down. But um, they also had to move a long distance away from the city to be able to afford a stadium to play in. And they barely kind of held on, I guess, at that point. Um,
Wait, what time period was
and
this?
this was
Like the
the
80s?
mid to no 2013. I was saying
So
2013 is when they got bought.
they moved out of Linz to like some
Yeah,
suburb or
they
small
moved
town.
about 50 kilometers away. I don't know where exactly they moved to, but they had to move out because they couldn't afford playing in Linz at the city stadium.
Wow.
Um, and so yeah, this was 2013. They eventually promoted themselves back to the second league. So they had a lot of fans show for that, and then there was a lot of support and a lot of work from the coaching staff and the players to get back to that. I mean, to maintain when you're basically have no money um, was big, and so um, they eventually returned back to the first league, um, and I think it was 2016 they got back after the takeover, like 3 years after the takeover by the consortium. They got back to the top
That's
division.
fairly recent. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was 2016. They finally got back, and they actually moved to Pashing, which is where I first saw them before they opened the new stadium that I've talked about before on this podcast. Um, I saw them play in what their old grounds were, which was a much smaller stadium than they have now, held like 5,000 fans.
Is it in the
Um,
city limits or just outside the city limits?
no, it's in Pashing,
Oh,
which
oh,
is
Flushing. Okay.
it's a few suburbs. It's a few suburbs over basically. You should take the train from Linz, like the tram from Linz over there.
So it kind of would be like
Um,
I don't know, the LA Rams playing in Burbank or something.
yeah, yeah, kind of, yeah. But yeah, so that
You look
was
confused there for a second.
yeah, at a on a scale is a little bit different, but yeah, yeah. Um,
Yeah, obviously
but yeah,
LA
so
alone's bigger than the whole country,
yeah, yeah. So,
population wise.
yeah, they got promoted. Yeah, they got promoted back to um the first league a few years after, and then they actually made it back to Europa competition in 2018. Um, the the best most recent actually a few years 3 years ago, like the 2020 Europa. They made it out of the group stage, but got eliminated by Manchester United. So that was a big game for
Oh,
them. But again, it's still um, to be at the level they were not long ago, under 10 years ago, basically, 10 years ago now, 2013, where they were in the third division, and now they're playing Liverpool at home, and they're in a
well,
brand new beautiful stadium, like
that's
where
why I'm pointing out
the
it's comparable. It's a roadmap for what Wrexham has done. Similar. I
yeah,
mean,
It's
and building a
similar,
new
I think.
stadium. So
Yeah, yeah. They're definitely not gonna take down the racecourse. The racecourse is a legendary stadium for Wrexham, but um,
yeah,
yeah,
no, I understand
it's a
that. I'm just
it's a
saying, as
little bit
far
different.
as coming back.
Yeah, yeah. Going back, I guess it's a little bit different because I didn't go all the way down to like Wrexham is further down the English table. Um, but yeah, I mean going back through and coming back from basically almost bankruptcy to the fans
Hmm.
this consortium. These people are just ardent supporters of the team, um, and getting back to
I
this
wonder what
level where
the team costs when the consortium bought them. Kind of like when
yeah,
the
it's a good
NBA
question.
was, people were buying up teams like the
Yeah,
Kings. They could buy them for, I don't know, 100
that
grand or something like that. It was something crazy.
I was more. I think it was more than that, but last like
Yeah, I know.
here's a good stat. I told you this when they were playing Liverpool, and I kind of tells you about kind of the cost. So the entirety of last the value of the players for last was 40 times less the value of the players for Liverpool. The last
Yeah.
was worth in the mid the mid 20 million euro range for all their players. You could buy all their players for that much, in terms of transfer market value. Liverpool is worth over 800 million euros for all their players, and they're playing on the same stage.
And
So
let's face
it
it, last put up a good fight. What was it, 3-0?
3-1, 3-1. So yeah, we'll get into the game. So yeah, Liverpool comes to town. Um, big day for Linz. Big day for the team. Big day for some locals. So we talked a little bit. Chelsea pub, a pub I've been to a few times here. Um, run by I
Kind of a
believe an
sports
Irish.
bar, shows a lot of games.
Yeah, yeah. It's an English. Yeah, it's an English pub. Here in Linz. I believe it's run by an Irishman who's a Liverpool fan. He's a longtime Liverpool fan. He actually renamed the pub to King Kenny's, which you'll like. Uh, but King Kenny, famous Liverpool legend in history, and he renamed it, and it was the spot for Liverpool fans. It was packed outside of and inside of that place. Could hardly move around. Um, and yeah, it was great for his pub, and you could see all the Liverpool fans walking around the town. And yeah, so it was a big day, and I was lucky enough to get tickets. I got great seats, a few rows up, right kind of behind the Liverpool side, which was very cool. And I'll talk about that experience in a sec. Um, yeah, so it was um, um, a great beginning to the match. And get there, like it's cool to see like the kind of hype in the stadium. The energy was great. The tifo, I sent you pictures of, and maybe I posted was a tifo being the banner they raise over
Oh, I had no
the
idea where you were going with that. I had no idea what a TIFO
uh,
was, but
yeah,
now
tifos
you say the
like
banner.
the banner that gets raised over the ultras section or the
Yeah.
the supporters section. Was a really cool jersey, and they had like a flag choreography with it. Um, that was cool to see. And post game, Jurgen Klopp, the German manager of Liverpool, one of the most famous, not the most famous managers in the world. Um, he was very impressed by the support for the team, um, and uh, by the fans. Much less impressed with the field. The grass, I guess, was an issue, which I noticed at the end of the game.
Oh,
um,
wait, what was an issue? The what?
the grass, the turf, the real grass, they were sliding and it was giving way.
Oh,
That it,
really?
yeah,
Okay.
they
So it was
commented on
like
that.
peeling up?
It was
Huh.
just giving way. It
Interesting.
wasn't peeling, but it wasn't a good surface. Um, and I had
Yeah,
noticed that
but
during the game. I was
yeah, to
thinking
be
about
able to
that.
play on natural turf versus synthetic, they're lucky.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Are
So,
all most fields natural?
all soccer fields, yeah, yeah, they have to be.
Oh, okay.
It's a
Okay.
requirement. Yeah, that's a big actually
Saves
thing
on
for
the
the World
knees
Cup. It's a big thing for the World Cup, because a lot of NFL
in
stadiums are
the
turf.
U.S.
Um, and
Yeah.
a lot of players want the turf to go away, artificial turf. Um, and that's been a big argument between owners and players because turf is known to cause injuries, artificial turf. And so, but if you're a stadium hosting a World Cup game, you have to have natural grass. And so there's a bit, they're gonna have to be replacing them
Push.
if they want to. But the
Yeah.
players in the NFL are like, we play in the stadiums every weekend, like, and we've been asking for this for years. Yeah. Anyway, another story for another another time. Um, but yeah, so um, pre-match. So the one thing you got to know with Liverpool is their supporters are around the world, and they travel to see Liverpool. Liverpool is one of the biggest clubs in the world, and because they're such a big club, they get the best players from around the world. So I mentioned to you Mohamed Salah. He's the most famous Middle Eastern Muslim player in the world. Um,
Of
he's
all
from
Muslim
Egypt.
Middle Eastern players, he's the best. He's the most well known,
He's yeah, yeah,
and
definitely.
he's Egyptian. Okay,
He's
I
yeah, he's
have no idea. I
Egyptian.
did see the
He's
jerseys.
extremely well known. He's well known in he's well liked, around the footballing world. And he's a very very good player, one of the best in the world. And just his presence around the stadium, like what people were doing to try and get him to look at them was absurd. Just a glance over their way and like an acknowledgement that he saw them was, yeah, people were dying over
So,
that. It felt like,
it, is he a big guy or just kind of an average
no, no,
size guy?
he's smaller than you, kind of like Messi. He's a small
Oh,
guy.
really? Okay. And
Yeah,
then,
he's
so did
just
you get an
2 feet.
autograph?
No way. Yeah, not even close. Um,
You were right behind the bench. What are you talking about?
yeah. Well, it's funny when he warmed up like during the game, he warmed up right in front of me, and like everyone like noticed when he just stood up, and like cameras came out, people started coming down and coming over to try and get closer to him. It was insane. Um,
You should
and
have
there was
hollered
another
out,
guy
"Hey,
there
who are
too.
you?"
No, no, I
Then
can't
he
do
would have
that.
paid
I'll be a
attention to you. He'd
stupid
have been
American.
offended. He'd have come over. Yeah, exactly.
Um, I'm a big fan of Virgil van Dijk. So he's one of the he's a Dutch
Dick's son.
player. He's this big he's this big center back. Center back being a mid, defensive mid guy in the back line. But he's like
Blonde
six
hair,
foot.
square jaw.
No, no, no. He's a black guy.
Oh. Oh,
Dreads. He's like 6'6", and he's such a good player. Um, he beat the U.S. in the World Cup. Well, didn't specifically him alone, but he was on
the
the team
Dutch
that beat
team.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Dutch team. But he's a legend. He's always been a great player for Liverpool. He's kind of been a just a piece of Liverpool for so long, and the Dutch team is well known too. And then another guy for that was interesting to see. So Hungary, not too far away. Probably the most famous current Hungarian player, plays for Liverpool. Zoboslai. I probably butchering his name. I can't
Oh
remember his
yeah,
first name.
Slobozai. Yeah.
Um, yeah. Um, but he's like the most famous Hungarian player. He's very good. He also came on and could see the Hungarian people. There was like a Hungarian flag in the Liverpool away section. Um, and like for his supporters, and like there was a little Hungarian kid that came running down the stairs when he stood up to warm up to like get him to notice, and he actually talked to the kid, which was kind of cool.
Oh, that's good.
Um, yeah, this like little
Did
kid
he
was
give him an
so excited
autograph?
for it. No, because he was warming up during the game, but he like
Oh,
said a couple words to him uh,
I would think
in
it was
Hungarian, which I didn't understand.
a, yeah. Hungarian is tough language. Pretty decent support in the crowd since Hungary's fairly close.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, you could definitely notice, and that's the
Take
thing
the
I
train in
noticed
from
too.
Budapest.
There was a lot of people from other countries. Like I noticed Croatians, Hungarians, Czechs, um, um, Turkish people,
Americans.
definitely people from Vienna and Salzburg. I heard a couple Americans. Like there was people coming from all around, and it's because Liverpool was there. Like that's what they pull people. Uh, yeah, it was a cool like experience for all the fans for sure to get that
And I
type of a team
assume
in.
I think it was a sellout, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a little
So
controversial because the tickets were and are expensive. Just so I saw this chart. Last last tickets are the second most expensive tickets for the Europa League. Uh, for their games, they're the second highest
why
price
is that?
set of tickets. No idea, and it's been a controversial among the last fans, but they have the second
I
highest
would
average
assume
ticket
probably to
price.
pay for the new stadium.
Yeah, it's been a topic of argument among the last supporters. Yeah, it was a tough purchase. Let's just say that.
Hmm.
But it did sell out
Yeah,
eventually. But yeah, so I guess to the game. The first half was absolutely magical for LASK. Um, you could argue it was one of the, if not the best
there have.
performance they have had, definitely that I've ever seen. I've only been watching it for a couple years now, but I heard a guy say this that it was the best half he had witnessed, and I don't know how, but he was an older Austrian guy. I don't know how long he'd been supporting, but they were saying he said it was the best half he had ever seen him play. Um, just absolutely came out, dominated Liverpool, um, played super well. Um, just were going, making tackles, winning loose balls, attacking, defending really well. Just all points of the game, they just played so well, and they were rewarded for that. Just an absolutely fantastic goal. Um, was I can't remember the score's name, but right in front of me, it was right off the ref right foot, top of the box. Just a fantastic goal. And it went epic because he ran over to the sideline, kind of right in front of me, and bat flipped um,
Oh,
right on
really?
the field. Just pulled a bat flip right on the field, which was sick. And then yeah, I mean the crowd went crazy. It was shocking. Like they
Did
were
he do
dominating. I
the
think it was like
whole before he did the knee slide?
uh,
Did he do the knee slide before he stopped and did the backflip?
no, he just did the bat flip and then celebrated with his team.
Well,
Um,
because you mentioned earlier that it's natural fields. Now I understand why
yeah.
they can do the knee slides. Because I'd watch them do knee slides and go, "Holy crap! They got to be burning the skin on their knees." Now I
Yeah,
realize it's
yeah, no,
natural
it's
turf, not a problem.
yeah, it's definitely much easier to slide. Plus, they like water the fields down, like they always water fields before the matches. So there's like a little bit of it's wet. The ball will roll really well.
A little squish to it.
Um, yeah, yeah. So it's definitely easy to uh slide on your knees right there. So I'm just looking up. I want to make sure I get the uh, goal. 'Cause,
Well, as
Florian
you're talking,
Flecker.
I'll also
Florian Flecker was the goal scorer for last. 14th
FF.
minute. Yeah, FF. But yeah, an absolute just fantastic goal. I'll mention it.
So,
So go ahead. Go ahead.
so how long did they lead
They led
before
until
Liverpool?
the 40 no 50 56 56 minutes is how long they led.
And soccer games 80 minutes long, 90,
90
80,
90.
right?
Yep.
Plus overtime, 90
90.
plus overtime minutes.
Yeah,
Okay,
whatever extra time
so
the ref adds.
they pretty much led the first half of the game. They won the first
Yeah,
half.
yeah. Yeah, they won the first
Huh.
half, and it was yeah, it was. I mean, they played super well, and I mean, people were commenting on it. The moment he scored was just like a moment. I think a lot of last fans will remember, like to go ahead of Liverpool. The scoreboard, seeing the scoreboard 1-0. to LASK with the Liverpool crest on the other side. It's just, I mean,
What
it's
did the
such a cool
crowd do when
scoreboard.
he scored? Did they light off the smoke bombs and
Oh
all that stuff?
no, I mean everyone just went like just cheering like crazy.
Screaming.
There's yeah, streaming like it was electric. Um, there's a couple things they do after with the announcer after they score. Um, they'll like he'll read off the storyline, so he'll be like, he'll ask what the score is. It'll be like last, and then the fans will say like if it's 1-0, it'll be like Eins, and then he'll say
No,
Liverpool, and then the fans will say stream no,
no.
and then
Yeah.
he'll be done, yeah, and the crowd will go Pita, and yeah, it's a great like yeah, you just
Do
shout
they do
out.
that
It's
for? They
great.
do that every game.
Yeah, every game, every goal. Yeah, they'll do that. It's super fun. Um,
Oh, and also
yeah,
to let you
yeah.
guys know, they're called the Schwarz-Weiss, black whites, because
Schwarz-Weiss.
that's their
Yeah,
team.
black and whites.
Schwarz.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
See, I do know
and
something
yep.
about LASK.
Yeah, I do know a little bit. It did wane in the second half. I mean, Liverpool just star power and players on players on players. Darwin Nunez got him even for Liverpool in the second half. He's a star striker
Who,
that they paid like
who's
100 million for.
who's the coach of LASK? Like a just a local Austrian dude,
Thomas, he was actually
or is
right
he
in front of
somebody
me in the
famous?
stands. He had an interview right in front of me. No, I can't remember his last name.
Oh, I was gonna say, wait, he's the
Thomas
coach. How
something.
could he be in the stands?
No, well, he had an
Thomas
interview
Mann.
pre-match, and then he
Yeah.
like recognized someone that was right there, like right in front of me on the stairs, and then came and took a picture with them, like right in the stands, because there was a staircase right there as
Did you get a
well.
picture with
So you like
him?
no, no. Like I knew who he was, and it's funny because Jurgen Klopp, Liverpool's manager, had an interview pregame too, and when
Yeah.
Jurgen was out there, there was tons of people around taking pictures. I took a photo around, and when last manager had his interview right in front of me, like, there was like a couple people took a photo of him.
Uh,
So it's just definitely the difference.
they just
Um,
need an American celebrity to buy into the team and then have a Netflix show, and then
yeah.
they'll be famous.
Yeah, but yeah. So to finish out the kind of scoring, so yeah, Liverpool scored 3 times in the second half. Nunez, Luis Diaz, another great player, and then Salah put a ball through the last keeper's legs for a goal, a nifty goal, right, and they were all right in front of me, which was cool to see. Um, and Salah scoring was like big. A lot of fans were really excited about that. So it ended 3-1. Um, super value. I mean, everyone for this last supporters were super proud of how the team played. I think there wasn't a lot of
Okay,
expectation
I,
uh, going in.
well, I'll interject. I can tell you, it did not make the nightly news here. So
Yeah.
in Europe, was it? I assume in Austria it was fairly big news. It was probably on the nightly news, even though the
Yep.
format's a little different for the news. But would it make the news in Europe, like on the
I mean, it
U.S.
makes the
Tribune,
regular it makes the regular
Sky
sports news
News?
page of like the BBC and Sky, but it
So,
won't make any
oh
special headlines.
yeah, ESPN's there. I mean, would ESPN would have talked about it in their soccer
Yeah, yeah, and
talk
soccer
show or whatever, right?
coverage. Yeah, yeah, they'll
Yeah.
cover stuff, but not
So
anymore.
Lask
Like in
probably got,
Austria.
but Lask probably, like when ESPN analysts were discussing it, probably got some good props as far as, here's this
Yeah,
underdog team. Okay.
yeah, yeah. I read a BBC article where they were praising like last play in the first half and the fan support. And one thing I'll mention on the fan support too. I mentioned this to you as well, and I was talking to some of my Austrian friends about it who had their game as well. There is definitely a noticeable difference between like the Central European fan support and English clubs. Um, so to give you like kind of the baseline for what happens in the Austrian Bundesliga game, there won't be as many fans there for sure. They won't sell out like a normal Austrian league game, but the fans will be constantly singing, cheering the entire time, like the section. So like I'm talking like the ASK stands in last, which are behind the goal, the like ultra
Mhm.
supporters. And the away section's always filled with ultra supporters for their teams. Um, and they'll be constantly singing throughout the game, and it literally doesn't matter what the score is. They'll be supporting and singing the whole time.
Well, no,
Like
I'll verify that because my first soccer game, other I don't even know if I went to a high school game before that, but probably 30, maybe 40 years ago when I was in Switzerland with like Esty and hanging out. I did go see a soccer game in a small town. Don't remember where, but I do remember having to stand the whole time, and I was tired. But we're next to there was a band, and
yeah,
you really didn't see much of the game because everybody stood and sang the whole time and chanted, and that was my first experience of a soccer game. So
yeah,
that's my only memory of it. It's been so long.
yeah. So that's like a standard Austrian Bundesliga. Like that's I've been to multiple Bundesliga matches, and that is every single time. That's how it goes. It's constant singing from both sides. What
So you're
happened at the
saying in
Liverpool
Britain they
match?
don't do that?
No. So what happened at the Liverpool match, and the Austrian fans noticed this as well, and I saw this when I was in England too. And I know it's a distance to travel, but their away section was full. The only singing they ever did was after they scored, and then like maybe once late in the game, and maybe once or twice at the beginning. But it was pretty quiet from their stands pretty much the entire time. Um,
What about
and
if it was
so it was
when
a
you were
different.
in Britain? What was it like? Same thing?
Yeah, I mean, I so yeah. I went to the Manchester Derby, and then I saw Tottenham play Southampton in a Premier League match. I think the Manchester United fans, who were the away fans for the game I went to, they got blown out 6-3, or it was 3-0 in the first half, or 4-0. I think they got blown out. The scoreline wasn't as close as makes it closer 6-3 than it actually was. Um, so there wasn't a lot of singing for them to do. It was more embarrassing. Um, they were leaving early too. Um, and that was
Oh, kind of
United
like
fans in the
U.S.
Derby
fans.
match. Yeah. Um, in the Southampton Tottenham match, I remember Southampton was pretty loud, and like the away supporters for Southampton were pretty loud. Primarily because I remember right, they won that match at Tottenham. So, and Southampton's not like Tottenham's a big team. Southampton's not necessarily
Yeah.
not on the same level. So they were pretty loud, but it's not the same type of support like I've seen in German or Austrian or Central European, Eastern European clubs.
Hmm.
It's definitely with Central European, Eastern, like it's much more consistent and constant. Where I think in like English clubs, it's more reserved a lot of times. It's not as constant. It's just kind of situational. Yeah, yeah,
That's
that's
surprising.
something
I
I
would have
noticed.
assumed Britain was louder, and I guess part of it is British Premier League fans have the because it almost
If
made
you
them use the
want,
hooligan
yeah,
aspect of it.
yeah, that's definitely toned down
But I
nowadays.
don't
But
think
if you
that
want,
really exists anymore. Yeah.
yeah, if you want the loud uh, support and the constant cheering at a match, Germany, for the bid uh, leads, Germany and Spain, Italy would be my first choices. I don't know France. I've not been to a France match, but I know for sure Germany. Most of the teams in Germany, um, even the small clubs. I know Spain. Spanish supporters are always. Barcelona. I don't know how well they are, but I know like some of the smaller tier clubs. Spain will be really good. I know Italians are crazy as well. Um, but yeah, and it's the same way in Austria. Um, so that was an interesting note from the game. Um, yeah, and then I
Yeah.
guess the
Well, it'll be
final note I
interesting to
have
see.
is yeah the last note I'll have from the game. I'll have two final ones, but George Bello, an American. Played it. I saw him
Oh
play
yeah,
at
that's right.
Atlanta United. He's a U.S. men's national team player. He got onto the field. He's a recent addition to LASK. Came from a German club, but not long ago, a couple years ago, was in Atlanta, and he grew up, came up through the Atlanta Academy. Um, he got on the field for LASK, playing against Liverpool, which was very cool to see an American on the field. Yeah, so I mean, my final thoughts.
Wait,
Super
and I will
fun.
mention, I wait, I did watch the game, but it was in Spanish. And the one thing I did remember is the word American, American, American. So that must have been when he went in the game.
Yeah, yeah, had to have been. Um, yeah, my final thoughts on the game was it was awesome for last. It was awesome for Linz. Obviously not the result, but I think it was much closer than a lot anticipated. And
Yeah,
they had the lead for the technically for the majority of the game. They had the lead. Um, so you know, again, like I mentioned earlier, being worth 40 times less than Liverpool and to battle them on that stage,
the
I mean, gotta give it to them.
the underdog. Yeah, so they performed well.
Yeah.
And we will be
Yeah,
hopefully
so
going to
that
a
was
couple of matches in a couple of weeks, or yeah, next
yeah,
week. So we'll
yeah,
talk about
little
that too.
spoiler, Ken is traveling out to Austria here shortly. Uh but yeah. It was a great time, great for Linz, great for Last, great for the fans, great for the players. Um, so all went well, just minus the end storyline. So um,
Or the fans crowding around your seat because you were so close to
yeah,
Salah.
yeah, yeah, but to be expected for an icon uh,
Uh,
of you know
you pay good money for a seat; it can
soccer.
get irritating, unless unless you're the
Yeah,
one that had the cheap
yeah,
seats and want to get down and get an autograph. Then it's like, come on, man,
yeah,
give
yeah,
me a break.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
well,
So
good.
yeah, that was our chat for episode 37.
Well, wait, I'll
Any
mention
last
too.
words you want to make?
Yeah, for those of you listening, Carson has a Gatorade hat on. So, sponsoring the JKU team, the
ACSL and
tryout.
the
AC.
club.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
they're ACSL sponsor.
And you had a 2 day tryout, and they brought out some Gatorade for
Tra-
you guys.
training camp, not a tryout, training
Training
camp.
camp. All
Yep,
right.
we're in the
Well,
final
good.
weeks. It's been a year of preparation. We're in the final weeks till our first game. For the JKU Astros American football team. Um,
Yeah. So
yeah,
those of you listening in Vienna and the Americans in Vienna, the Americans in Austria, um, football starts on the 14th. Correct? Right. Saturday
correct.
the
Yep,
14th in Vienna.
college football.
Sadly, I will miss the JKU Astros opening game because they got a bye, and then they play the 24th, I believe, on a
Yeah,
Thursday in Vienna.
26, I think it is.
Six.
Yeah,
So
we played on Thursday.
I encourage you all to come out, buy a cheap ticket, have a great time, watch American football played by Austrians, uh, and then support the Astros so we get the bigger
Yep.
crowds.
And if you want to get an autograph from King Kenny over here, he will be attending the
Oh,
matches
I'd
on
give
the
out all kinds
14th.
of autographs. Just buy me a beer at the beer garden or a shot of Jaeger. So
So with
looking
that,
forward to it.
wanted to hear episode 37. You had one more thing you wanted to mention. You mentioned it last year around this time too. A certain score that happened recently in Rockland.
College. Oh! I'm sorry. Yes, correct.
Or
Especially if some of your teammates or your players are listening, they've become somewhat knowledgeable on Rockland football. Carson was on the team that went to state. They had their big crosstown rivalry, or shall I say, derby, was last night. Um,
yeah, dude,
without
good one. I
kids,
like it.
yeah, you like that. Without kids in high school anymore, I didn't even know it was going on. but we lived near the stadium, so we heard the cheers. I go, wow, big crowd tonight. Turns out it was the rivalry, the derby, the derby, whatever you want to call it. And
What is it called?
there's
What
two
is it
hot
actually called?
uh, the Quarry Classic, because for those of you
Quarry
Rockland Quarry Bowl, right?
Quarry Bowl. Yep. Yeah,
Quarry
Quarry
Bowl.
Bowl.
The big trophy's a slab of granite because they used to mine granite here. It was a quarry, and a lot of the granite from here, I guess, is at the state capitol and in San Francisco as well. But Rockland dominated that game. I think it was like 42-3. Don't quote me on that. I don't know exactly. And for the team, the guys on the Astros that have been on the podcast and got to meet and speak with some former Rockland players and Coach Siebes. Siebes was now on the opposing side, but I'm sure he appreciates the support. So yeah, it was a big day. It's a college game day here. I'm wearing the SC jersey. Like I said, SC beat Colorado. There's a lot of interesting games going on right now, but that's a whole nother episode. So,
Yep.
congratulations to the Rockland Thunder and go Astros.
Yep. So with that, wanted to hear episode 37. Thanks for listening. Look forward to some coming Astros episodes, and we
Yeah,
hope you
really
continue to
great.
follow us into the future. So
Tell your
bye.
friends. Cheers.